I had the Canon R6 for 2 years, and I recently just sold it for the A7 IV, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I thought I'd share my thoughts on the camera after having it for that long and all the little quirks I learned about it. This camera has had so much improvement since its initial release. It's almost like it's like the Canon R6 Mark II. I guess most of the improvements were in the video features, but overall the camera is just, it's a cinematic filmmaking beast as well as a phenomenal photography camera. I know people like to say it's a photo camera first and then a video camera, but I would like to say it's probably just right in the middle. It's a perfect hybrid camera. So let's talk about some of the positive things that I really love about the camera. When they added C-Log 3, that was a big game changer for a lot of us filmmakers. It improved the dynamic range and the overall look of the image. It was just a lot better than traditional C-Log. And more recently, which they should have done this from the very beginning, they put out a firmware update that really helped fix the IBIS wobble that you would get with wide angle lenses. Now it's not completely gone, but it did have a major improvement. That was one of my biggest gripes with the R6 and all the new Canon R cameras, is that annoying wobble you would get when you would vlog. Sometimes it was so bad that you couldn't watch. It was just so disorientating. Yeah, it was one of the biggest downsides to that camera. So I'm really happy they did put a firmware update out that kind of solved that issue, at least for the most part. Kind of going back to C-Log 3, I really loved how much you could push the dynamic range in the camera now that you have C-Log 3. Even when I would push the shadows really far and you'd see a bit of noise in the shot, when I uploaded it to YouTube, the compression from YouTube would kind of get rid of the noise. So it made it look like I had a really nice camera with really good dynamic range. So I guess that was a plus with the camera and the compression of YouTube. And the low light on this camera was so much better than my previous EOS R, however you say it. The low light, I think, was probably the best in the R6. It was pretty good in the R5, I think, but I think the R6 was like the king of Canon low light cameras. I'm not sure now. I'm not sure if the R3 is better or what, but if you're interested, you can go check out some of my low light videos that I did with the R6. It's quite phenomenal. You could bring the ISO up pretty high and it would still be usable. So it was definitely a good low light camera. The photo and the video quality from the camera was just phenomenal. The photos look great. A lot of people complained about only having 20 megapixels in the Canon R6 or 20.1 megapixels or something. And I didn't see any problem with that at all. I mean, there's people shooting with 12 megapixels in some of the newer Sony cameras. I guess it's just the A7S III, but even then, they're still passable. So 20 megapixels, I think, is plenty, especially if you're, shooting weddings or things like that, corporate events. I don't really see the need for a really high megapixel amount unless you're doing some major cropping in. And the 4K video quality looked really good. It was really sharp. Especially because it was downsampled from 5.1K, I believe. I have nothing bad to say about the quality of that camera. It's a good camera. And honestly, every time I picked up the camera, I just felt so inspired to go create. I'd be sitting on my desk and I'd walk by it and you just take a second look and be like, it just looks so good. I think the R6 is tremendously underrated because it's kind of outshined by the R5 and the R3. But to be honest, I think a lot of people could get away with just getting the R6 instead of the R5 and investing some of that extra money into the really phenomenal RF lenses and really expensive, but really phenomenal RF lenses. Have I said phenomenal quite a bit? I suppose I should talk about some of the things that I kind of didn't like about the R6. It's kind of nitpicky, but kind of not, but I guess we should talk about it. First up being the IBIS wobble. Now, I did say that they did improve the IBIS wobble, but it was still there to an extent, and I get it. With video cameras, you should just switch the IBIS off, to be honest, because it's not a real authentic video feature, if that makes sense. It's mainly for shooting stills. So when you use it for video, it's going to look a bit off and you're going to get the warpiness, and they can probably, I don't know if they can improve it anymore, but the wobble's still there a little bit, and as much as it did improve, it was still a bit nauseating or I can't say the word, disorientating. Why? I didn't know I couldn't say that word. But as I said, I will give them a thumbs up because they are doing their best to improve it. So, and it is definitely better than it was. The second thing I would nitpick about it, now that I have the A7 IV from Sony, is the lack of custom dial modes. Did I say that right? Custom shooting modes. Now that I have it on the Sony, I realized what I was missing out on, and I would definitely nitpick that, because I believe the EOS R had custom buttons, so, or custom modes. Yeah, so I believe the previous EOS R, geez, I'm stumbling, EOS R had it, and the R6 doesn't, and I believe the R5 has it. So I would kind of nitpick that. The third thing is I wish it had a bit better dynamic range in C-Log 3, or I wish they included C-Log 2. I'm not sure if C-Log 2 would work on the R6. If they had C-Log 2, you would get so much more dynamic range. C-Log 3 is great. It's a lot better than C-Log, but it's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to try the Sonys out, because the dynamic range and the highlights looked a lot better. I could always tell when somebody was shooting with a Canon or a Sony. Usually the Canon's, the sky was a bit more blown out. I can't really think of anything else because it was a great camera, and to bash on it too much is to, I'm just trying to find problems with it at this point, because I really did enjoy the camera. So yes, I sold the R6 after having it for 2 years, and I didn't sell it because it wasn't delivering. It was a phenomenal camera, like I've been saying. It's a great camera. How many times have I said phenomenal? But it was simply just because I wanted to try something new. After having the same camera for 2 years, I was like, why not? I've been looking at Sonys. I've been wanting to try a Sony, so why not? So if you guys are on the fence with getting an R6, I would say just pull the trigger. It's a phenomenal camera. Oh, I'm gonna try to stop saying phenomenal. Pull the trigger because it's a great camera, and I personally don't think you'll regret it. If you think the RF lenses are too expensive, just get the adapter, check on your EF lenses, or if, you know, Sigma I think makes EF lenses, and Tamron makes EF version of lenses, so you can still get a wide range of lenses. You just have to adapt it. I know not everybody wants to do that, but hey, it's an option. So R6, thank you for the past couple years. You've been a great camera, and I hope your new owner is treating you well and using you to your utmost potential. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.